everybody, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon or this morning, I guess, depending on which coast you are on. Happy Friday. We are thrilled to be here to talk about internship opportunities this afternoon and give you a bit of an introduction to Stifel, who we are as a firm and what we do, and really who we are as a culture as well. I'm Kate Flynn-Filippelli. I am the head of institutional campus recruitment here at Stifel. This afternoon, you'll have the opportunity to hear from a panel of speakers who are all former interns and representing many different areas across the firm. So kind of echoing what Brandon said, but before I introduce our panel and moderator, just a few housekeeping items. Please leave yourself on mute. I think that Brandon had said that no matter what, we can't hear you, but so that means pop your questions in the chat. We definitely want to get to them, and we're excited. We saw a number of you had submitted questions on the front end, so we'll definitely be saving some time for that at the end of our presentation. With that, what we find is that it's great if you can add your name and your school when you put a question into the chat. We always strongly encourage you to ask questions. Oftentimes what we find as recruiters and as individuals within these specific businesses is that the best conversations are born out of a simple question. So we definitely encourage you all to do that today. So today I am joined by my colleague, Crystal Runquist, who is our head of home office campus recruiting. Over the next hour or so, Crystal and I will tell you a bit more about the firm, and more excitingly, we'll then let you hear it from our current and former interns themselves during a panel discussion. Before that, what I'd love to do is just run you through a little bit of information about the firm, and so let me share my screen and we'll talk through pretty quickly. Okay. So again, hi, we're Stifel. So we are the nation's 7th largest leading financial services firm. Sorry, let's start that again, guys. We are Stifel. We are the 7th largest financial services firm here in the US. We have a great combination of a very large wealth management business, as well as our institutional group, which encompasses our investment banking side, as well as equity research, sales and trading, et cetera, and so forth. What we're excited to chat with you about today is a little bit about who we are and our culture, our opportunities, and talk to you about what a career at Stifel might look like for you as you begin to search for internships and full-time opportunities post-graduation. So that's great, but who are we and what do we actually do? So let's talk a little bit about it. Stifel is probably the best kept secret on Wall Street. We have been in business for over 130 years. And as you can probably imagine, when a financial services firm is around for that long, we have seen a lot of things. And so as a firm who has come through the depression, the recession, the dot-com boom, through kind of everything that's happened in the markets in the last 130 years, we continue to keep growing. And in particular, Stifel has really had a huge boom in growth over the past 2 to 2.5 decades. In the past 25 years or so, we have gone from about 2,000 to 9,000 associates, which is what we call our employees globally. We have kind of expanded from more of a regional Midwest firm, our headquarters is in St. Louis, to really a global firm. We have operations in more than 10 countries. We just announced a partnership with, that we're going to be expanding into South Korea in the last week or so. And we have over 378 retail offices. As I mentioned, a lot of what we do is in the wealth management space. So we do have a large number of offices all across the country. And two things that you might really be interested in is knowing that we are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Our ticker is SF. And over the last 26 years, we have had every year has been a year of consecutive record net revenue. So true proof that Stifel is growing and evolving in a wonderful way over the last 2 decades, and we continue to hope to do so. at Stifel, we are really focused on earning the long-term trust of our clients. One of the golden rules that we follow here at Stifel is to manage other people's money as if we were managing our own. And, we'll talk to a few people who are based all over the country today from our team. I'm based out of our New York office. Crystal's based out of St. Louis, and our panelists are kind of split as well. But I think that one of the things that really defines Stifel is that we have a really great mix of a culture that kind of embodies a bit of that Midwestern hospitality, alongside kind of the New York kind of sass and speed with our institutional headquarters in NYC. We are also a firm that is, squarely in the middle market space, in that we choose the deals that we work on, and we kind of target clients and deals in a space that is not massive organizations, although oftentimes very much household names, but it's also not, mom and pop shop, at least on the institutional side. So definitely in that middle market space. And one of the things that we're really excited about is that we feel that we have a large ability to kind of do everything that the big bulge bracket banks do, but do it in a more personalized and more direct fashion. And we feel that way about our employees as well. Working at an organization like Stifel, that's a bit smaller, gives you the opportunity to get your hands on things earlier on in your career than you might have the opportunity to do otherwise. And that's across all of our businesses and across the entirety of the firm. So let's talk a little bit about what you can do here at Stifel. So we'll talk a bit about our 2024 internship opportunities. At this time, I will start off by saying that for the institutional group, at this time, we have completed the vast majority of our summer internship recruiting. We are down to, I think, one seat in one program. So essentially, we are completely closed at this point. However, we're excited to chat today a little bit about our 24 opportunities, as well as some diversity, equity, and inclusion / early idea opportunities that we have coming up, and those are for 2023. So our traditional, we do a 9-week internship for the institutional group. The programs are offered within 5 different distinct spaces. So of course, investment banking, followed by equity research, algorithmic trading, more on the equities, sales and trading side, public finance, and fixed income capital markets. As I mentioned before, we do have a vast kind of footprint across the country. And so while all of these opportunities, except for public finance, are offered in New York, all of the opportunities, except for algorithmic trading, are also offered across the country. So we do have opportunities if you are based on the West Coast or in the Midwest, or even out, in the Rockies. We do have opportunities in San Francisco, in St. Louis or Chicago, or in Denver. We hire across the country, upwards of, in institutional alone, upwards of 150 interns per year. So we're definitely moving quite quickly. As we continue to expand as an organization, we continue to expand our programming opportunities as well. The other side of what we do is our home office summer internship programs. So this program is based out of our St. Louis headquarters. And I will call on Crystal to keep me honest if there's anything that I miss here. But we do have basically opportunities across a large swath of both consumer banking, private wealth management, and technology, enterprise operations, basically any sort of operations that work to make our business run, or groups that help to support the actions of our bankers, our traders, our wealth managers, etc., are in our home office internship program. So I'm talking about things like audit, compliance, HR, digital marketing, social media. We have, a ton of different technology roles. And then if you kind of dig down even deeper and you look into, for example, our opportunities within Stifel Bank and Trust, which is more of our consumer banking side, there's opportunities in commercial banking, in commercial real estate. There's lots of different credit type of roles. There's so many different opportunities that we have that we typically bring just about 50 interns each year into our home office, and they are across all of these different opportunities. And one of the beautiful things about Stifel is that regardless of where you're located, you typically, you're part of a cohort. So we have, as I mentioned, a ton of interns in New York and a ton of interns in St. Louis each summer. But that's not to say that if you are in Baltimore, Maryland, or Boston, that you would be sitting by yourself. So it's rare that we only have one intern in an office, which is a really nice thing because it helps you to build and develop your network and your experiences, both while you are looking at the opportunity that you're there for over the summer, whichever group or business you might be working with, but you'll also get to know a ton of interns across other groups and businesses. And what you'll find as you develop in your career is that the world is a very small place. And so you never know when someone that you interned with 10 years ago, you then end up working with 10 years down the road, maybe as a client or a partner. So those networks are truly valuable.
And Kate, I just wanted to say real quickly that for the home office internships, those are still available for summer 2023.
Yes, and we will talk about the timelines in a moment. And I realize here it says 2024. But yes, this opportunity is ongoing for summer 2023. So let's talk about timelines and career opportunities here at Stifel. As Crystal mentioned, we are currently still recruiting for our home office corporate internships for this upcoming summer. Internships in this program are available in the summer after your freshman, sophomore, or junior year, as long as you've completed 1 year of your college education. And the application deadline is December 1st, but we are currently reviewing resumes in a rolling fashion, and interviews are ongoing. So if you think that this might be something that you're interested in, definitely don't hesitate to take the opportunity to submit your resume, as we are currently, actively reviewing. For the institutional side, we have really two different timelines that we run our recruitment on. The first is investment banking, which tends to start earlier in industry-wide than other finance roles. And so those applications will be posted on January 2nd, and we will ask for all applicants to submit their resumes by February 1st of next year. The way our process goes for investment banking is that we leverage HireVue for our first round interviews. So what we intend to do is, have our roles open for that month. And then have, about a 2-week period for all candidates to be able to submit their HireVue interview. And then we hope to start our interviews in mid to late February of next year. The other 4 programs that we have within institutional, so algorithmic trading or quants, equity research, fixed income capital markets, and public finance, will all open on April 1st of 2023. Again, 1 month to apply. Deadline will be May 1st, and then first round interviews for these processes all are via Zoom. We have maintained a fully remote interview process for all of our institutional programs. And I'm not sure, Crystal, you can let me know. Have we maintained a fully, yes, we've maintained a fully virtual process across all of our internships here at Stifel. And So we expect those interviews to really start mid to late May of next year. In addition to our more traditional internship programs, we're really proud to present a number of early identification or diversity, equity, and inclusion program opportunities each year. And so 3 of them that we'd like to highlight today are, first of all, is our Sophomore Explorers program. So our Sophomore Explorers program is exactly what it sounds like. It is an opportunity for students who are completing their sophomore year to explore different opportunities in the institutional space. And then our intention is, while the program is not explicitly a 2-year program, our intention is to be able to bring in these explorers once they've decided kind of which area they're interested in building a career in, and bring them back the summer after their junior year as, traditional 9-week interns. So what's really neat about this program is that we started it in 2021. And so this past summer, we were able to see kind of the evolution of that first group of explorers, coming back as interns. And then next year, we have a large number of them who will be joining as 2023 full-time analysts, which is really exciting for us. And the way this program is, structured is that it's a 5-week program, of which the first 4 weeks are all remote. The first week is focused on training, and we are very cognizant of, we want to make sure that we have all of our explorers on a level playing field. We know that, curriculum matters when you're looking at roles in finance, and there are some schools that are taking classes as freshmen that other schools are taking as juniors. So we try to level set by doing a week of training, followed by 3 one-week rotations across fixed income capital markets, equity research, and investment banking. Then, and as I mentioned, all 4 of those weeks are remote. And after that, we do 1 week of a capstone session in New York, where we bring all of our explorers together, and we get to, celebrate them and enjoy the opportunity of, having them meet the people in person that they have been chatting with via Zoom, via their sessions. Let them get to meet their mentors in person. We do a volunteer project. We try to do a couple of fun things around the city. So it's a really great program. And again, we while it's not explicitly a 2-year program, we really do hope that those who come through this process consider the opportunity of coming to Stifel as a return intern the following year. And one of the things that I do want to mention is you might be looking at this and thinking, all right, well, that's all well and good, Kate, but these timelines don't add up. Why are you recruiting for interns before you even have the Sophomore Explorers program happen? And I'm happy to say that the reason and the way in which we do that is that we actually intend to, save spots in the programs for our Sophomore Explorers, with the expectation that those who choose to join Stifel during the summer after sophomore year will also have a high likelihood, based off of our previous conversion rates and the culture that we have here at Stifel, to convert and to come back. So we do save spots. We know that a lot of firms do early interview processes and things like that. But again, we hope that people who choose to come here as sophomores will choose to come back here as juniors as well. The next program is another early ID program that we do every April. It's our Public Finance Bridge program. So Public Finance is our 2nd largest US internship program in the institutional group. And it is not part of Explorers because last year was its inaugural year. So we built a kind of custom program that's really designed for students who have a simultaneous interest in public policy and in banking to come on board and join us for a few days, either based off of your location, either in the Midwest or on the West Coast, and learn more about the business from the bankers themselves. It's a really fun program with a lot of casework and excitement. We get to do a couple of fun things outside of the office too. And I'm proud to say that this past year, we were able to bring in about half of our incoming 2023 internship class out of the inaugural bridge programs that we did in April. So again, this is another spring recruiting timeline. Applications for this program, as I mentioned, both locations happen in April, will open on February 1st. And finally, a program that we run and that we're very proud of, and it's quite different from most of what you'll see on the street, is our undergraduate women's symposium. And, you know, we like to think that there are a lot of roads to finance, to careers in finance, and to careers in investment banking in particular. And so the UWS is really an alternate path for students who are interested in banking and typically have a financial services internship lined up for the end of the summer between their junior and senior years. And who have an interest in investment banking, but they're not interning in that space. So we've seen women come through this process who are interning in capital markets or in public finance or are working with consulting firms. And our purpose is to give you a week to really take a deep dive into Stifel and who we are. And then, you know, you get to know us, you get to know what we're all about, and then you go about and you do your 10-week or 9-week or however long internship. And then at the end of the summer, you know, we like to have conversations with those women who came through the symposium about would they consider coming to Stifel as a full-time investment banking analyst. So very different from many programs out there. And again, proud to say that we had a very successful year this year. We were able to convert about half of the UWS program away from their return offers for their internships to come and join Stifel as investment banking analysts in both Stifel and KBW, which we'll talk about in a few more moments. With Jolie, and which is our financial, it's our FIG group, basically. So those are 3 very special programs that we're proud of. And then just to talk through a bit more about why we think you should choose Stifel. This is a little bit, I mentioned details on the programs, but this is really our programs by the numbers. We are very much a bank that looks at the quality of our candidates as opposed to what, you know, what schools in particular people go to. We are not a firm that only recruits out of core schools and core schools only, and the traditional core schools is what I mean by that. We have a class that is representative of over 50 different colleges and universities. We have 19 internship locations nationwide. We are closing in on the big 200 in terms of our overall summer headcount for interns. And we are really proud of the fact that over 90% of those that we extend offers to choose to return to Stifel. It says a lot about our culture and the work that, you know, not only our training and development and program management teams and everybody puts into the interns, but the value that our business sees in our interns across the firm is something that is, we think, unmatched. This is a place where it's a fairly flat organization across the board, and you know, you'll have the opportunity to interact with senior leadership. You'll have the opportunity to get to really know the people that you're working with, and we're proud of those opportunities, and we're proud of the way that our program continues to grow and evolve. And we hope that you, you know, intend to think about coming here for the summer and potentially consider it. Okay, and now I'm definitely taking way too long. So moving ahead, just talking a little bit, you know, obviously we run a very traditional summer internship program, but that does include our, you know, extensive training, networking, mentorship, feedback, team building activities, and the fun stuff. All of it kind of comes together to give what we truly feel is a best in industry opportunity for students to come and join us, whether you're in St. Louis, in New York, or anywhere in between or beyond. We truly feel that kind of permeates the entirety of our intern experience. So in closing, obviously we'd love you to picture yourself here. And so this was our summer internship class, I believe last year. And in the middle is our CEO, who has also been with Stifel for quite some time. And his commitment to our early career opportunities is definitely recognized and noticed by both, the rest of the business. It starts at the top. Ron cares about our interns, and so the entirety of our senior leadership team really does as well. So with that, I am going to stop sharing, and I am going to turn it over to Crystal, who is going to lead our panel. So Crystal.
Thanks so much, Kate. I'm so happy to be here to talk about internships here at Stifel, and I'd love to have our panelists introduce themselves. So let's start with Jolie.
Hi, everyone. My name's Jolie. I'm originally from Idaho, but I went to Dartmouth College. This was my first any type of finance, big girl type of internship, job experience at all. And I loved it, and now I'm back full time.
Awesome. Nate?
Hello, I'm Nate. I'm here at St. Louis at the headquarters. I went to Washburn University and then transferred and finished out my 2 years at Quincy University. I had my internship here as well in the summer, and now I have my full-time position.
Okay. So my first question is to Nate. You have a great story. You started out as a summer intern, and then you were offered multiple positions upon completion. So what interested you in an internship at Stifel, and can you describe your experience a little bit?
Yes, the reason why I chose Stifel is because I wanted to be challenged. And also I wanted to be around more like-minded individuals, because I knew that if I was around more people doing what I aspired to do, it would help to best create the best person and best version of myself. My experience was great. I interned with the retirement plans, IRAs, 401ks, and I learned a lot. Outside of my internship, I was able to meet with a lot of individuals, some that are my mentors now. And I just picked their brain, the ones who had their 10 years here, been here for 5 years, and who had been here just under a year. I just took the pros and cons, was a lot more pros than cons that I received from the employees. And it just let me know that it was a great decision that I was making. Now I work full-time for a platform strategy specialist. I take projects from the CEO, Ryan, and I help collaborate with various departments and uplift the program off the ground.
So glad to hear that, Nate, and we're glad to have you with us at Stifel. So Jolie, you started in your full-time investment banking role. How did you decide what type of an internship opportunity to pursue?
So I knew I wanted to do something finance related, but I didn't really know what. As someone who worked 4 jobs my freshman summer, I knew that I'm kind of someone who's built for a grind and a hustle. I'm a little bit like that. And I anticipated pretty hard, long hours coming into this, but I didn't realize how much valuable experience I would also get. Investment banking specifically, as like a little bit of a background, as I said earlier, KBW is one of Stifel's banks that they own, and we focus on like depositories, so like banking for banks, insurance, and then like fintech and financial services. So that's what I specialize in specifically. But I knew that investment banking would give me like the challenge and stimulation where I can both learn really valuable skills, but also feel like I'm contributing to the team, and that like the work I'm doing isn't just, piddly little intern work that you have to do to just get it done. Like I'm really learning, and they're including me, and they're teaching you so that you can become them. They're not just teaching you so you can get it done. And so I really valued that. I feel like I get a lot of really unique direct exposure to senior leadership. For example, day 9 of starting my full-time position, I actually went on my first business trip and went to a client-facing meeting, which was really cool. And I learned so much from doing that. So So even on like long hours here with like a solid team, it doesn't feel bad at all. In fact, I would say we're probably more accommodating than most, and it really shows. My entire intern class all returned with me, so it kind of feels like a little homecoming reunion. But not to like speak badly about the industry, there were reservations about choosing this. I heard a lot of horror stories from friends on the street who never interacted with an MD their entire summer. They really just worked with like one analyst or one associate above them, and I was really nervous for that. Because culture does mean a lot. And I know every company will advertise that their culture is great. But if you really look into it, how many people come back, how many people stay for their entire career, I really felt like this was the perfect balance between the like intellectual stimulation and challenge and feeling like I'm learning a lot, as well as feeling like I'm taking care of myself in my work situation. So as Kate mentioned earlier, like the IB recruitment timeline is a little bit accelerated. So you do have to decide before the other finance cycles complete, which is a little bit intimidating. But I just recommend when deciding like what type of internship opportunity, I considered not only like the fit of the like type of work I was doing, but also I had to check all the boxes for where I wanted to do that as well. So I really recommend doing that.
Thank you. It sounds like you're really self-aware and really took some time to figure out the best fit for you. So I'm glad that it's working out so well for you, and we're glad to have you on board. So for now, I have something that's somewhat of a round robin question. So I'll give this to Jolie and Nate. If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice to think about before beginning your internship, what would it be? I'll start with you, Nate.
I would say not to limit yourself. The reason why I say that is because I was an athlete and I was teetering between going back for my last year of football and then taking on the internship because we trained so much. And for the slightest moment, I almost thought that I was closing the door on the opportunity. And we may feel that way sometimes when you're venturing on a new path, but you have to understand, like, just as I was closing that door, another one was opening. So never feel like you closing off yourself because you may have told your family, well, oh, I want to do construction, or oh, I want to do hair. And this is something that you preach all your life growing up. And then when you cross the bridge, you're like, man, I'm not doing any of this. Like, I don't want my family to think I'm a failure, or am I selling myself short? It's not about selling yourself short. It's about adaptation and change. You see, in 2020, we had COVID that happened and it sent us all home. It was very untraditional. And that's how life has been moving since then. So you have to be able to adapt. Never limit yourself or just view yourself as one person.
Thank you so much. What about you, Jolie?
Definitely. I agree. As well as I would say imposter syndrome is real. I'm sure you've heard that in school or other people say that about work. It is so real. It is everywhere. It's intimidating. Do not be afraid to ask questions, especially as like a woman coming from a liberal arts school versus kids who have masters in finance and accounting coming into these roles. Like it is intimidating. You don't really know what's going on all the time, but that's part of joining something new. And they are so prepared for that. There's formal training for anything expected, and then everyone kind of holds your hand while you're drinking out of the fire hose at first a little bit. And it's totally okay. Everyone's in the same position. Just ask as many questions as you can. And I know that's kind of a common theme that you might hear, but it is so real to just kind of get thrown in. But absolutely just ask questions, be confident, and then practice and learn. And I'll also kind of hop on to what Nate was saying, because during my internship, it was also during COVID, which was really challenging because you didn't get as much of the in-person instruction. You didn't get to see day to day what other people were doing, because exposure is kind of the best way to learn. But they were great at accommodating that. The picture they just showed with Ron, I was actually in that. They did a great job about bringing in senior people to speak to us from every facet of the company. We had tons of lunches, tons of conversations with them, which is great. Actually, our president and CEO, Tom, is having a little barbecue party right now just for the baseball playoffs for fun. So I would say people are doing a lot to accommodate and adjust to different scenarios, and like learn and work with them and adjust, because that's how you evolve. But that's a great point, Nate. And please ask questions and just learn, soak up their experience while you can.
And something that I would like to mention that you touched on is how she heard from certain people about horror stories. That's something that you have to understand, that along your journey is your journey. It's not someone else's. So you're your own individual. Of course, take everything that people say into consideration, but at the end of the day, you gotta try it out for yourself, because someone may knock you off your path of your journey when it was meant for you, and you might gain a better experience.
That's such a good point. Thank you so much for your input and your insight into your journeys here at Stifel. And I will send it back to Kate.
Great. Okay. So I am pleased to say we have a ton of good questions in the chat. So let's talk a little bit through some of them. Hunter Wilcox from University of Kansas asks, what are our full-time opportunities like for investment banking? So I guess we can take this from two different perspectives. So we can talk a little bit. I'll mention, I know Jolie, you talked a little bit about what it's been like for you so far already. I'll mention a little bit about the recruiting process for that. And then if there's anything else you want to add on afterwards, that would be great, Jolie. So in terms of recruitment for full-time investment banking roles, as I mentioned before, we do tend to have a very high intern conversion rate. So for the 2023 class, we are just about full at this point. And I would say that well over 90% of that comes from conversions from our programs, which is really exciting. We at this time have filled the vast majority of our roles. We may have ones or twos that come up along the lines. And what we encourage is for full-time roles for investment banking, you should definitely keep an eye on the Stifel website, which our Stifel careers page, as well as our way up page. And we often do leverage Handshake as well to post our opportunities. So feel free to keep an eye on any of those roles. At this time, we do anticipate that any other kind of supplemental hiring for our intern, for our full-time classes will not start until the beginning of Q1 of 2023. So if there is more, it would probably happen after the new year. So I would say, keep a loose eye on what's happening here, in the different platforms over the next couple of months. And if anything does open, it will be posted widely. And then in terms of the actual, the full-time opportunities, Julie, do you want to talk a little bit about the training program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would start with by saying something that's pretty unique about Stifel is we all train together. So everyone in New York, where I'm at specifically, Stifel, KBW, and Miller Buckfire are all integrated into a lot of our intern activities. So like while KBW might have some separate things, there's a lot of lunches and trainings and activities that are all generic for everyone in the building, which is really nice because not only am I getting exposure to like my own bank and my own groups here, but I'm hearing and seeing what everyone's working on upstairs on the Stifel floors. And I can hear the Miller Buckfire people on the other side of my floor talking about their work. So I would say that's also really an interesting and like valuable experience too, because you're not only getting trained for just what you're doing, but you're getting to see kind of everything across the board. But the internship training, for me, it was during COVID, so it was on Zoom. I'm not sure how that works anymore, but it was, I believe, 4 or 5 days of basic like financials training. We had Stifel representatives come in and give us like instruction on, how just like functional logistics will work. But it was, specialized to exactly what we needed and really helpful. And then for the full time, it was just kind of a bigger version of that. They flew everyone in across the country for all of Stifel's Bakes. And we had an in-person training for the whole month in one of the Rockefeller buildings. And then once we split up into our groups, all your groups kind of decide what to do with you. So for example, one of ours here, they're kind of still getting formal training from their analysts. They kind of made a little training program, and others of us were just kind of thrown in and taught as we go and have like a once a week little call to do more formal reviews of things we should all know. So it is kind of different for what you do specifically, but as a whole, Stifel will train all of us together so you can really get exposure and training for everything you'll ever need.
And if I can speak, mine was different. I was actually in person. And as you mentioned, it is different depending on the department that you are in. But one thing that I did like about my internship is I thought that I was just gonna come in and like do busy work. But by day 3, I was talking to my mom. I said, I love it here already because I was actually doing the same work that the full-time employees were doing. So it was great to be able to come a part of something so big and be able to contribute to that alone was just a great feeling.
Thanks, Nate. Yeah, and I think, I think that we do really try to focus in on how we can continue to build a business and build a bank that's, best in class and best in the industry. And Stifel has definitely, as we continue to grow and develop in our internship programs and our early career programs, we see a ton of different types of opportunities, even once you're here, in terms of, how do we develop students who come on board in their first year, their second year, and how, for example, in investment banking, typically after, I guess 2 to 3, probably around 3 years, you go from potentially an analyst to an associate, and how do we get you ready to make that jump? And there's a ton of work that's done. I work with a phenomenal team that we broadly cover both the recruitment and the programs and training and development for the early careers, and at least on the institutional side. And they're constantly working on developing new programs, and how do we keep getting better and keep improving in the ways that we improve our employees. And I think that speaks a lot to Stifel's culture, right? And when you think about it, Jolie mentioned KBW, which, as she said, is our financial institutions group, and then also mentioned Miller Buckfire, which is our specialty restructuring group within investment banking. And so, both of those groups joined Stifel as acquisitions. And Stifel, we really practice what we preach. As an organization, we consistently look at, we're very good at looking at what we're great at and what areas, that we can continue to develop in, and making the investments to make that happen, whether it's through acquisitions, and we've done a lot of them. That's a lot of the ways that we've grown. It also helps to make a culture that's very kind of quick on its feet to change and develop when you're doing acquisitions quite a bit. But, we look at our people the same way. How do we continue to invest in them so that they can grow and develop in such a way that they can continue to drive success for the organization? So it's definitely, again, it's kind of a top-down thing, but you see it across businesses, across the entirety of the organization. All right. So with that, I want to go to another question. So we have a question from Devin Sardana, who is from Fordham University. And he said, I know that you said that the majority of the 2023 internships are full, with the exception of the home office internships. What about the diversity and inclusion opportunities that may still be open? So those programs, I know I did highlight talking a little bit about the Sophomore Explorers program, but what I think I failed to note on that is that the application for Explorers will open on Monday, October 24th. So that's super soon. We're really excited about it, and will be open until November 18th. for that program. So definitely encourage anybody who is considering that's sophomore and is considering, looking at, well, if you're here today, you're probably considering looking at Stifel. So, we encourage all of you who are sophomores to come on and apply for the Explorers program. It's a great program and, really does give you the opportunity to grow and develop and, in ways that people don't always think they're going to. A lot of times people hear finance, I'm thinking, I'm going to go into finance, I'm going to be an investment banker without, necessarily really knowing what else is out there. And one of the things that we love about this program is that it does give you the opportunity to really dig deep and find out more about other businesses. So I guess I do want to see, speaking of other businesses, Gabby, how is the technology challenge happening over there? How are you doing? We're not there yet. Okay. Well, I am happy to introduce Gabby. So Gabby Zafiro is an analyst in our fixed income capital markets group. And then she was an intern here last summer, in summer of 2021. Our fixed income capital markets group is a really interesting program. It's a very small internship program, so we only have about 6 people in that group. Next year, we are intending to expand outside of just New York and bring in opportunities in potentially both Memphis and Birmingham, Alabama. And so Gabby is a graduate of Amherst College, which again goes to show, we recruit out of lots of different types of schools, small liberal arts schools, large universities, some of the so-called like big national target schools. We get to see lots and lots of different types of profiles that come through here. Although unfortunately we can't hear Gabby, we love you and thank you for joining us this afternoon and representing FICM. We appreciate it. And so going through a couple other questions that we have, just going down the list. What are some of the, Jonah Ashley Friedman wants to know, from Florida State, wants to know what are some of the best qualities that successful interns may have? So Nate and Jolie, I'll let you answer those. And then Crystal, if you have anything you want to add on.
The best qualities that successful interns should or would have?
Yeah.
Yes, I would say goal-driven. Most definitely, being able to be coachable and listen. It's going to be a learning curve, no matter how smart you are or what you may think it's going to be a learning curve, but that's what you should be wanting to come here for, is to learn more. So I most definitely say be optimistic, because sometimes it'll be days where you're like, man, this is kind of challenging. Like, this is what I signed up for, but just be optimistic and know that you're learning and that you're going to run into new roadblocks in life, but that's all about life. So I say goal-driven, optimistic, and being able to just be coachable.
Excellent. Yeah, I definitely agree with all 3 of those. Jolie, anything else that you think really stands out?
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to highlight coachability. I think that's a great point. As I mentioned earlier, like, you're not expected to know things coming in. Please know that, because it's intimidating. So ask a million questions and take great notes, because they're more than happy to help you and give very detailed explanations a few times. But if you are disorganized about your record keeping in that sense, it'll get very overwhelming and hard to keep up on. Like I said, it is a lot of information very fast. Nate said it's a very steep learning curve, and it is. And it's not hard, it's not too much, but just make sure that you are coachable and you're learning and you're detail oriented with it. You're responding to emails, you're asking questions, and you're making the changes that need to be changed. And then I would just say take great notes along the way, be very organized, because you'll need to come back on information, from, a long time ago, or you're just getting so much information so fast you can't comprehend it all and actually internalize it. So make sure you take great notes, keep track, respond to people quickly, and, do what you're asked to do. Make sure that like what you're submitting is like fully complete and proofread. Other than that, just stay positive and be open to building the culture that's here. If there ever is a hard night, just know like the teams do stick together. So if you are having one of those, everyone's here with you, which helps you bond with everyone around you and know that like you're not getting stuck with extra work. Everyone's, here with you. So
Excellent. Perfect. Thanks, Jolie. And then we have time for probably one or two more quick questions. So I noticed a number of questions in the chat around both full-time opportunities as well as MBA hiring. So from an institutional perspective, we typically do not hire master's or MBA interns or full-time, I guess, associates, you would say. With the exception of potentially in our very specialized restructuring group, Miller Buckfire, as I had mentioned before. Those opportunities are listed on our website, so we encourage you to check there. And I know that, however, on the home office side, we do hire MBA interns, and so if you are interested in those types of opportunities, again, keep checking our website, but know that they do exist. And we, would welcome applicants across all educational levels on the home office side for the opportunities in St. Louis.
And Kate,
oh,
I
sorry.
was also just going to say, for some of the MBA students that had been leaning a little more toward investment banking, we also have opportunities within Stifel Bank and Trust on the credit analyst side that have very similar career paths. And so that's something that you definitely can look into. MBAs, those opportunities are open for January. The application's open now for January 2023, and then also for June 2023. And those classes are going to be every 6 months, and it's an 18-month program where you're hired into a full-time role, but you're in a cohort and you're learning about the different lending verticals. So that's something to keep in mind.
That's great. Thanks, Crystal. And then the last question that we got is, for students who are just getting into finance, what do you do if you have no direct finance or financial services experience on your application? How does that affect you? And so this is actually a question we get quite often, especially as the recruitment timeline moves forward more and more. And so it's with that in mind that, I always say you don't have to have 75 financial services internships for us to look at your resume. But what we want to be able to do as recruiters, Crystal and I and my other teammates, colleagues, or frankly, anybody who's looking at a resume, it could be the bankers, it could be the other professionals, it could be somebody at another firm that you're applying to, is we want to be able to look at a resume and understand the why. Understand, why do you want to do this? That is to say that, the why doesn't have to be, I want to be in capital markets and I have 73 fixed income opportunities. But we want to see, if you don't have internships in finance, we want to see how you've demonstrated your interest. So that could be through clubs and organizations. It could be through taking on project roles. It could be through anything that you're doing that kind of touches the institute, sorry, not the institutional group, that touches kind of the industry. We want to see that highlighted on your resume so that we can kind of put the pieces together in our minds as we're looking through them and say, okay, I understand why this person, even if they haven't done this before previously, wants to do this in the future. And I think another thing that's really important to note is that there's so much pressure, I feel like, right now for freshmen that are looking at opportunities or thinking about maybe going into financial services to intern in finance the summer after their freshman year. I don't particularly, I don't think that's a necessity. I think that there's a lot of people who think that, okay, I'm going to go into panic mode if I'm not going to, Morgan Stanley after my first year. And that's like, you don't need to be at a bank. You don't need to be, going somewhere to kind of make the jump into, we find it particularly with investment banking applicants, and I know there's a lot of folks on this call today who are interested in that space. If you can demonstrate where your interests lie, don't feel like you are out of the game because you might not have a fancy internship the summer after your freshman year or so. There's lots of opportunities. And as I said before, there's lots of paths to financial services. And so I think it's with that in mind that, again, I want to, as we come to the top of the hour, I want to again thank our panelists and thank Crystal for everybody for joining us today. I'd like to thank Way Up for their partnership and obviously thank those who joined us this afternoon for kind of taking the time to learn more about our organization and who we are. And again, just want to remind everyone, we do have a couple of different opportunities to remain engaged with Stifel as we move towards recruiting processes. Obviously, encourage you to apply for the home office internships that are ongoing, the emerging leaders that's opens on, I'm sorry, not emerging leaders, the sophomore explorers that open on Monday, October 24th. We have an information session that's really going to walk through like the nitty gritty of our interview processes that you can expect, that will be posted on Way Up and is posted on Handshake already. And that's going to be happening in early November. And then, all of our DEI opportunities that we have in the spring, plus all of our full-time, or not full-time, but full summer internship programs that we have that are coming up in the spring. Keep exploring, keep thinking about how you can kind of drive your career forward. And if you are, motivated to keep continually growing and evolving and taking on new and exciting tasks and building, your career in your way, I can think of no better place to do it than here at Stifel. So we hope to see your applications come through for all the programs we have coming up. And again, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Feel free to keep in touch with us either via Way Up or via Handshake. We do a lot of messaging through both platforms. So don't hesitate, and we will talk to you soon. So thank you so much. And Brandon, thank you for your time and helping to moderate for us today.
Of course, my pleasure. And thank you all for attending. Have a wonderful rest of your day.